Smarterfan. Smarterfan. Yeah. Smarterfan.
Hey, everybody, welcome to another segment of Smarterfan Podcast, where we bring you behind the veil in sports, business, and life. I'm Joe, and this is Barry. How you doing, Barry?
I'm doing good. You surprised me tonight. You got a little different intro. You
Yeah,
surprised me tonight. I like that. I like that. I
yeah,
like the behind the veil. That's what we do here at Smarter Fan Podcast. We'll talk about things that other podcasts can't, won't, or just choose not to talk about because we want smarter fans. So
yeah.
absolutely, buddy. What do you got tonight? What you got?
I gotta talk about the first 2 weeks of the NFL season. Just a couple of games that stood out for me, anyway.
Talk to me. Talk to
You
me.
know, the Chiefs got a wake up call by the Lions last week. You know, and
Mm-hmm.
they won this week, but the Chiefs still look shaky to me. You know,
Well, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it's just they just look out of sorts. You know,
It's called growing pains.
mm, yeah. And now the Niners, they went to the Steelers' house and kicked their door in. They beat them 30-7. You know,
Mm. Wow,
and
that is a door kick in.
yeah. So the Niners are on a mission. And they beat the Rams this week. And
Mm.
it looks like Mike McCarthy is making a statement. The way our boys beat the Giants and the Jets. Dan Quinn. He's got that defense pumping on all 8 cylinders. And and then the Cardinals had a 21-3 lead against the Giants this week and blew that and wound up losing the game.
Mm-hmm.
31-28.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dolphins and the Chargers, they were in a slugfest last week. And
Mm.
Tua came out on top on that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went to New England and beat Belichick and the Pats. So, they're doing all right. And the Chargers lost again. So they're losing close games. They're in the games, but they're just losing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the Eagles had their hands full with the Pats last week. And then they just manhandled the Vikings. So they just ran all over them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then, some news in the league. The Rams signed Mark Rippon's nephew, quarterback Brett Rippon, to the active roster because he's going to back up Stafford while rookie backup Stetson Bennett he's going to the reserve NFI list. So they haven't disclosed what's going on with that. And the Titans are going to be honoring the Oilers this year by wearing their throwback uniforms, for 2 home games this season, with the old Oilers Derek on the helmet and everything. And they're going to be paying homage to Steve McNair, Eddie George, Warren Moon, among others.
Awesome. Awesome.
So,
Long overdue.
yeah,
Long overdue.
definitely. And the NFL lost another iconic an iconic figure in Gil Brandt.
Yeah. Yeah.
91 years young.
Yeah.
And
You talk about an innovator.
definitely, he was the godfather of modern day scouting, as they say. And he was the architect of building the Cowboys teams that went to 5 Super Bowls, winning 2 of them in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
He was a great evaluator of talent, and he worked for the Cowboys from 60 to 89 and was part of that trio of Tom Landry and Tex Schramm, that built the Cowboys, assembling a team that included Roger Staubach, Tony Dorsett, Mel Renfro, and Drew Pearson.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he helped pioneer the scouting techniques that are still being used today. He's
Mm-hmm.
he was the first one to use computers for scouting and evaluation, and he finding players at small schools and in other sports.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember the Cowboys drafted Andre the Giant. You know,
You always come up with this color commentary. I don't know where you. I understand.
yeah. So yeah, it was crazy, but and he also employed psychological testing in evaluation
Mm-hmm.
and developed a scouting system that helped create the NFL scouting combine, which continues to be the epicenter of the draft evaluation process today. So he was a pioneer all the way around.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So
Let
that's
me,
what I
because you
go
you
ahead.
you always try to get me. You like beating me like 10-0 with this trivia stuff.
I'm
But I
not
got
trying.
it's okay. I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna catch you. We coming. As Coach Prime saying, we coming. Guess, well, Too Tall Jones was a number one draft pick of the Dallas
hmm
Cowboys.
hmm
True or false? Did he come from a Division One school or a Division Two school?
I have no idea, to be
That's my
honest.
trivia. He came from a Division Two school as a
hmm
number one draft pick of the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, all right.
I never knew that. So I had to.
Yeah.
I had to be. I'm digging in the archives. I'm at the Smithsonian. I'm down in Washington C at the Library of Congress to find this stuff because you've been like beating me 10-0 on trivia. So
So,
listen,
so what's on your mind?
the NCAA is on my mind,
hmm
and three things that I've had three conversations with about the NCAA. And I'm not saying it because I hate the NCAA, but I think it's time. There's some problems with the NCAA.
hmm
They exude. I had this conversation with somebody on these three areas. The NCAA talks about the student athlete, and it all sounds wonderful, but they haven't done anything for the student athlete in at least 50 years,
Mm.
concretely. And what do I? The person says, "Well, what do you mean by that?" I said, "I'll give you three criteria." They said, "Well, what about NIL?" I said, "NIL is a good thing, but there's still not in place a revenue share for all the players.
Mm.
So if you're not a star player, you're not necessarily going to get an NIL deal.
Right.
But that's not fair. It's
hmm
not fair if you count the numbers." And what did they say? I said, "Do you know how teams make money? Tickets. First of all, TV,
hmm
tickets, right? Concessions, parking, merchandise, right? So there's at least 5 to 7 revenue streams right there.
hmm
So the NCAA has failed to create a platform that all of these student athletes who are making these sacrifices should be able to revenue share. Because you got to
hmm
ask yourself, well, where is the money going? It's going to other programs that are not as popular, which
hmm
means they're paying coaches and paying tuition and paying for grown adults. So you have 18, 19, 20-year olds paying for the lifestyle of adults.
Mm.
Okay. I said, two, if we look at Nick Saban, which I have no problem with Nick Saban and what he's done in Alabama, you look at the buildings when he got there and you look at the buildings since he's been there,
hmm
where did that money come from? The football program.
Yeah.
Not not all those athletes went pro. Most of them didn't. Those who did, even fewer stayed. But they
hmm
built and generated millions of dollars for that university.
Mm.
Failure number two. Then the person said to me, "Well, what do you think they should do?" Every student athlete should be sharing. If their program is bringing in a lion's share of money, there is absolutely, and let me clarify this, there's absolutely no reason that upon graduation, a student is not leaving the university with two criteria. One, $100,000 in their bank account upon
Mm.
graduation because they've
Mm.
earned it. They've earned it. It's not
hmm
a gift, they've earned it. Two, they should have 3 years of academic eligibility that they've already earned and paid for.
Hmm.
The person thought I was a bit grandiose. I said, if you play 4 years and I've been to one bowl or two bowls and I got a winning record, I've already paid for the 3 years. I've already paid for the $100,000. Plus, if I'm an All American or a high draft pick, guess what the university gets to do? They get to leverage my career to draw in what? More recruits. So
Mm-hmm.
technically, the university always will make money. All I'm just saying is the people who are paying the greatest price and taking the greatest risk should be able to share in that wealth. That's just fair. And the person had nothing to say to me. And I said, that's the problem with the NCAA. And last but not least, I feel they're really out of place with this mental health issue. And not just for the football players or whatever, but if a young man has a like the one at Colorado, his coach dies on the field in one team, he leaves to follow Coach Prime somewhere else to make a fresh start. It's impacted his mental health. Another coach dies on him,
Hmm.
and he
Wow.
wants to go to Colorado. Why wouldn't you let this young man have his eligibility? He's not playing because he's dealing with this trauma, and
Right.
football is the one thing. And that's why I say the NCAA hasn't really done anything concretely. They're a great marketing machine. They tell a great story. But when you really look behind the veil, they actually do very little for the student athlete. And
Hmm.
that's a problem, and that needs to change immediately.
Hmm.
It's time for these 18, 19-year olds who are to get their fair share of underwriting grown adults who are paying grown adults pensions,
Mm-hmm.
retirement, vacation, and tuition for their kids. And you're telling me these young people shouldn't these young men shouldn't share in that wealth?
Hmm.
Doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense to me. So that's my really stick in the mud with the NCAA. They could do better, and I really believe if they don't, it's going to get to a point that the question is going to be put on the table. And quiet as it's kept, it's already on the table. Why do we need the NCAA?
Hmm.
Because they're really not acting in the best interest of these young people,
Never have.
and never have historically.
Yeah.
It's historically. So that's been my big bone tonight. But I'm throwing it back to you.
Okay, well, I'm going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about the NLB, the Major League Baseball, because the Braves took the lead in the NL East, and they just never looked back. And now they're savoring the thrill of winning their sixth straight NL East crown,
Mm,
and this makes their title total of 23, and they're just 4 wins away from their second straight 100-win season,
wow.
and they're only the second team in Major League history to have 5 players with 30 or more home runs in the same season,
Mm,
joining the 2019 Twins. And Matt Olson, he's the current home run leader with 52, and he broke Andrew Jones's record for the Braves in a single season of home runs. And
mm,
he's also a nominee for the Roberto Clemente Award, as well as he and Ronald Acuna Jr. being MVP candidates. Uh,
wow.
and around the league, the Orioles and Rays, they clinched playoff berths, with the Orioles making the playoffs for the first time since 2016. And they're trying to win their first AL East title since 2014. You know, the Dodgers won their 10th National League West crown in 11
Okay.
years, continuing their dominance. And Texas is clinging to the last American League wild card spot.
Mm-hmm.
And the Twins are still have a commanding lead in the AL Central, and the Brewers are still leading in the National League Central. And also, Major League Baseball is this is Hispanic Heritage Month for Major League Baseball in
Oh,
conjunction with Roberto Clemente Day. And all 30 clubs joined in celebrations of Hispanic heritage, month, where Major League Baseball's digital platforms and Major League Network will host programming celebrating Latin American players' contributions to the game of baseball, and the Roberto Clemente Award, which is presented to each each year to the player who best represents the game of baseball through extraordinary character, community involvement, philanthropy, and positive contributions on and off the field. Now,
Awesome.
I've met I've met a few Latin players that have been, great players that came
Hmm.
through the majors. I've met Juan Marichal, I've met Louis Tiant, and I've met Rod Carew, you know,
Mm.
all gentlemen, all nothing but class,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know. So, but that's my little thing on Major League Baseball since it's kind of like wrapping up the season right now,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know. So,
No, that sounds good. That's a big step in a positive direction.
mm-hmm,
That's a big step, and that's a great highlight to the diversity in baseball. But there's still a long way to go
mm-hmm,
in really, as I always believe, every Major League Baseball team should have a junior team in their city for the kids,
mm,
and
yeah,
providing baseballs, bats, gloves, all that stuff.
mm-hmm,
There should be, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
mm-hmm,
think how exciting that could be.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? That you have like a little league of the major leagues. You know what I'm saying? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
could you imagine like where do Yankees, Cardinals, Pirates, there's this little league team that's tied to the major league team,
mm,
right? To encourage, you know, baseball being played,
mm-hmm,
and I mean, to me, it just is a no brainer. You
yeah,
don't know what kind of talent you're going to find. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And you could just grow it organically in your city,
mm-hmm,
and
yeah,
have the championship at the stadium. You imagine having a championship game at Yankees at any of the stadiums.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Imagine if they were following the Major League Baseball season, right? Or they
mm-hmm,
were doing it during the summer leading into the season. To me, these are great opportunities for someone who has a little bit of vision to do some very unique things to expand the game of baseball.
mm,
In my humble
yeah,
opinion, in my humble
yeah.
opinion, you know what I
So,
mean?
yeah.
That
So
like
what else?
sounded good. Hmm.
So what else is on your mind?
Well, the NCAA had me. I want to talk about Coach Prime, but I'm gonna take a different approach to Coach Prime today. I'm going to talk about um, the word opportunity. I had
Hmm.
another conversation with. This is why I don't get enough rest. People want to keep talking to me. That's why I don't get enough. And I shared with somebody today the most impressive thing that Prime is doing. First of all, they got scared when I said, well, Coach Prime has actually created two transfer portals for himself. The person almost lost their wig. They said, what do you mean? He's using the regular transfer portal that everybody has access to. And then
Hmm.
he's leveraging the HBCUs as his other transfer portal. And they said, what do you mean? I said, well, he has a number of coaches when he was at Jackson State he formed relationships with.
Mm.
Where do you think he's going to glean more talent from?
Hmm.
Through the portal. So kids that are in those programs that want to come up or come, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
He'll be able to glean them with their coach's blessing to come to Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, what he's doing in Colorado already on his own recruiting end, and then you're going to start seeing more HBCU coaches. He's creating his own tree who are going to come
Right.
in, right, and get exposure and get opportunities. And the
Mm-hmm.
person whose mouth was like, I didn't even see it when it was right in front of me, Barry. I said, yep, that's what he's doing. And to me, that's the fear factor that you're hearing in some people. And when they say,
Mm.
"Oh, he's changing college sports," yep, yep. Because guess
Mhm.
what? Everybody wants to be a winner. Everyone wants to win, right? And people copy. You know,
Yep.
you and I heard it. I heard it today on Rich Eisen's show, who had Howie Long's son on there, and
Hmm.
he mentioned it himself about, yeah, it's going to it's a new day in college sports, right? And the
Mm.
energy. I mean, you got people. I'm one of them who stayed up to 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I still haven't recovered to watch that game.
Yeah, I heard. I
There's
heard
a
about
lot
that.
of people. Yep, there was a lot of people, and so the sand is shifting towards the product. I mean, you got the Rock at Colorado. You got all these people. You know, you're looking in the stands. The stands are looking more diverse,
Mm.
right? So, you know, you're hearing people from Colorado, no matter what color they are, who are loving what is happening on campus,
Mm.
loving what's happening in the towns and the cities and so forth. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
so the ground is shifting. The ground is shifting, and that's
Hmm.
why I feel, as I said earlier, the situation with the NCAA, which is like 100-year-old relic. If they don't wake up real quick, they're going to become obsolete, and because their value is diminishing because they're not adding any value.
Mm.
They're
Yeah.
really not. They spend a lot of time telling. They're slow to change. They're slow to enact anything. They're slow. You know, they're archaic. They're
Mm.
archaic. You know, why they keep getting 6 and 7 figure checks to do what? And that really is the kids' money. It's not their money. They don't.
Yeah.
Ask people all the time. Can you name 3 things that the NCAA has done to benefit student athletes? I have yet gotten 3 answers.
Mm. Well.
And that says to me, they're a relic and it needs to
Yep.
change. So that's what I got going on. I know I'm a little, I got a little NCA, I got, but I think as we talk about behind the veil, these are the things that people are asking and wondering about. And so I wanted to kind of shed some light
Hmm.
on that,
Hmm.
and the money and how the game is played, what influences the game. And I get this information from friends of mine who are trustees, who are
Hmm.
college administrators, people who
Hmm.
see the money and know how the money flows. And
Hmm.
so I always want to take that relevant information and share that with our fans so they can understand how big of a business college sports is,
Mm.
and give
Yeah.
another view. Because that's why we're called Smarter Fan Podcast.
Yeah. So I wanted to touch on the NBA a little bit.
You're gonna wrap it up with the NBA.
Yeah, with Giannis and Olajuwon, he's planning on working out with Olajuwon before the season starts,
Hmm.
and he's expressed his excitement to learn from his old child, his childhood idol.
Hmm.
And he's hoping to learn his post moves and footwork, and Olajuwon's offensive prowess is the in the paint remains the gold standard. You
Yeah.
know, so Giannis and Olajuwon are there are 2 of 3 players in the NBA history to win MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. The other one was Michael Jordan, of course.
Hmm.
So after he had a knee procedure in July, and he's been quietly grinding all summer. So as he prepares for the season. So I just wanted to throw that out there, you know, and
No, that's a great point. I mean, to think about Giannis even getting close to being able to do some of those things that Olajuwon is
mm,
scary.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
scary.
That's why LeBron went and worked out with him.
It's scary.
You know,
That if he dials in 1 or 2 of those moves in the paint, uh Milwaukee's gonna be tough to deal with.
well, Olajuwon was a center that moved like a guard. He had the moves of a guard. and
Yeah.
he used to have Ewing for lunch.
Lunch, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and maybe a little snack. I mean, somebody that big moving like that, inside, outside, and around the rim, my
Mm.
friend, that's we haven't seen anything since, right?
Nope.
That's how special Elijah Wan was and still is. Great human being, and you know,
And the
one
only
of
reason he wasn't on the dream team is because he wasn't an American citizen.
which is scary. Could
Yeah.
you imagine him being on the dream team?
Oh God. No, I can't.
You know,
But but that's my little thing on the NBA. So
no, good points, man. I mean, good points. MLB, NBA, the NCAA, and I say this that somebody will hear in the NCAA and wake up because I really think they're in the 12th, the 11th, maybe the 12th hour of their existence because it's time, it's overtime to really compensate these kids fairly for the sacrifices they make on and off the field.
mhm.
People don't understand how much of a sacrifice these athletes have to endure. Um, I mean, think about what happened to Travis Hunter. He's in the hospital with a lacerated liver from a
Mm.
hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
People don't really understand. He may not play the rest of the season. That's a reality. He may not.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and so again, that's why I always say, my friends, Smarter Fan Podcast, we always come at you with the behind the veil, the angles you don't see to give you a greater fan experience. But all things being equal, I think with the health and technology, he will be back this season. And yeah,
Well, we
he'll
can
be
only
back.
hope.
We can only hope. We can
Yeah.
only hope, but again, you know, it's an exciting time we live in. Lots
Yes.
changing.
Yes, it
Lots
is.
changing. Lots of opportunity. And I got a trick. I got a sneak preview for you. Guess who was at the Colorado game with his two sons?
Howie Long and his
Mas-
two sons.
no, not bad. Master P with his two sons. I guarantee you, Master P is trying to angle, who I personally met with, have
Mhm.
met personally in a meeting. I bet he's trying to see if he can get his sons in the Pac-12 playing basketball because they can play.
Eh? Eh?
Don't say I didn't tell you. See, you
Uh-huh.
only get these things on Smarter Fan Podcast. I'm telling you, Steve.
That's
I'm
right.
telling you.
That's right.
So yeah, my good friend, Smarter Fan Podcast, here delivering what no one else will. Enjoy, my friend.
All
Thanks again.
right. All right. Peace.
Smarter fan.